The 2005 sales given in thousands of dollars of the top 5 products of a company are given in this table or graph on the right. The first question is this: what percent of the sales of these 5 products was due to product B, rounding our final answer to the nearest hundredth? Now, first of all, we're comparing sales of product B to all 5 products together. So I think pretty obviously you're going to see that you have to go ahead and total all 5 product sales. So you're going to add those 5 numbers. 412 plus 397 plus 301 plus 301 plus 273. And if you add all 5 of those numbers together, you end up with, and I won't waste the video time doing that, but you'll get 1684, 1684. And we're comparing it simply to the sales of product B, which is 397. You can think of it 2 ways. You can go back to your basic formula, percent times base is equal to amount, and plug in there and solve. But also, quite a number of times they're going to be asking you for percent. And so one way of looking at it is just to go ahead and solve for percent to start with. And if you divide both sides of this by the base, you will see that the percent is always the amount divided by the base. In the earlier problems, I was just using the top version of the formula and doing the algebra, but as you're getting more and more sophisticated with this, you're probably going to want to make things a little easier on yourself. So when I'm solving for percent, I'll just go ahead and remember that the percent is going to be the amount divided by the base. So the amount of what? Well, it's the amount of sales due to B over the base. So we're comparing product sales of just B, so it's the amount of sales of B to the base, which is the total sales of all 5 products. Now think about this a minute. We're doing a percent. We're comparing product B sales to total sales. So it's the sales for product B compared to total sales. That means that the percent would be 397 over the total sales for all the products, which is 1,684. We've practiced enough, I think, with the calculator for me to assume that you can do this with no problem. If you do that division, you get 0.2357. And remember, when you do the division, what you get is a decimal. They're asking for a percent. So don't forget, last step is to change the decimal to a percent by moving the decimal point 2 places to the right, and you'll end up then with 23.57%. Now they said to do it to the nearest 100th, and that's what we have there, 0.57. Make sure when you do the arithmetic that you've done enough decimal places if it doesn't come out even, so that when you round it you will be able to get to the nearest 100th. I think that just comes out 0.2357 anyway. So to answer the question, 23.57% to the nearest hundredth of the sales of product B, of the sales of all products, were due to product B. Okay, second question. what percent greater were sales of product B than product E? And again, we want our final answer to be rounded to the nearest 100th. This is percent greater, so that has to do with the percent change formula that we talked about earlier. Now, just to remind you, the percent change formula, different ways to think of it, but the way I presented it earlier is the new amount minus the base amount, or the original amount, divided by the base amount. When you think about the base, you're always thinking about what you start with. The percent change is from this base amount. Now, if it's greater, that's a percent increase. If it's smaller, that's a percent decrease. So this percent change is actually a percent increase since it's greater. So as I'm writing it down, I might even say it this way to sort of personalize it to this particular problem. The percent greater of sales, well, of what? Of B as compared to E. Of B to E. That's going to be the base amount is what we're comparing it to. We're comparing B sales to E. So E is considered the base. What you're comparing it to is what you started off with. So the base amount is 273. So when you're doing percent increase or percent decrease, the base amount is what you're comparing it to. You're comparing B to E. So the new amount is the product that you're comparing E to, and that's B, so that would be 397. Now remember, a percent change, whether it's increase or decrease, will always be the difference of two things on top divided by the base amount. So it's the new amount minus the base amount divided by the base amount. If you do that on your calculator, you will find out that that comes out to be 0.454212. Make sure you take enough decimal places so that when you change it to percent and round it off to the nearest hundredth, you will still have your accuracy. They ask us to do it the nearest 100th, and remember, when you do the division, you're just given a decimal to start with. You have to change it to a percent by moving the decimal 2 places to the right, so that becomes 45.4212%. But they ask us to round it to the nearest 100th, so we want to round it back to there, and so that would just be 42% rounded to the nearest 100th. If you're rounding it to the nearest 100th. So product B sales were 45.42% greater than product E sales.